as a child, translated as a tribe, translated as a nation, translated as a country, translated as a continent, translated as a world, translated as a universe, translated as love, translated as love, translated as life, translated. So that is our goal. Today we're here to discuss a podcast with the five of us and others who care to join us. And each person, okay, so everybody's bio is there.
Nice.
And so I want to start this conversation with Caliph, because this is how I got here, okay? To when he started showing me this stuff, I said, oh, I got to get him with Djehuty because of the Ankh. First it was the Ankh. And I said, oh, I got to get Caliph with Djehuty. Remember Mzuri in your living room? Remember?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then he started talking all this tetrahedron and octahedron and the, and I said, oh, I got to get him with Nelson. And, then he told me about his 13-step program to heal humanity. And I said, well, Nelson and I have been talking about the frequencies, and Djehuty has a whole program for is it the voice, Djehuty? So that's what I want to get to here. I want each of you to express your truth about healing humanity. And we call it with music because all of us are musically inclined or have been professional musicians. So I'm going to give the floor to Caliph to start. And Caliph says it's going to take a village of churches and nonprofits working together in their neighborhood, meeting the hurts of humanity so that we can provide the hopes of heaven. So, Caliph, you got 2 to 3 minutes. You go.
Oh, wow. Why did you have to start with me?
Because you're the
Nelson's voice has a lot of medicine and music and magic in it. You want a rough old baritone frog voice like mine?
No. I want your knowledge. I got my straw
Okay. Well, let me
in
tell
your
you. Let me
brain.
try to sum up what where I am and what I'm developing and working. Thanks to you and many others, and I appreciate all of you that are here today. My 13-step full recovery project involves simply connecting the creature, which is humanity, back into creation and the creator. And that falls within the parameters of my professional career as a clergy and a biblicist. Somehow I've been able to find all of these disciplines within the pages of the Bible. And sometimes it's easy to communicate, sometimes it's not. In short, in Romans chapter 8, verse number 19, it says, for the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestations of the sons of God. So the creature, the humanity, is moving toward what I've called godnicity, for lack of a better word, just so that we can wrap our minds around what I'm trying to do, so that humanity is on a wheel to become divinity. Dust is becoming divinity. And the verse 22 in the same chapter of the book of Romans, chapter 8, talks about the whole creation groans. Now, the whole creation groans and travails in childbirth, waiting for the redemption of the human body. In conclusion, the whole creation is the heavens, cosmology, as the heavens above us, and the earth on which we stand in partnership to give birth to a new species of being that will have unlimited power, unlimited access, unlimited resources, so on, so forth, and et cetera. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So what Caliph did was explain to me about how the Ankh is used to decalcify the first eye, or the all-seeing eye, and how it affects the left and the right brain. Well, I had had numerous conversations with Dr. Nelson Harrison about how sound affects humans, how as musicians we affect people, and the different frequencies that we encounter. So I would like for Nelson to give us an intro into the physics and the psychology of the change from 432 to 440 and other frequencies that he talks to me about. So Nelson, you just give an intro into your understanding of the power of the music and frequencies,
Okay.
sound.
Okay. Well, it's been determined and known for quite a while that the Earth has a sort of a central frequency, Mother Earth, of 432 hertz. And prior to the, I think it was the 30s. No, yeah, it was prior to the changeover. I think it happened after some of the classics, but they changed it to 440. Now, 440 is a slightly higher frequency, but it's not harmonious with 432. In other words, it disrupts the homeostasis, it disrupts the natural harmonies of the body, of the being and the experience and the consciousness. And they retuned it. It was in France, I think. They changed it from 432 to 440, which is what we're suffering from now. Um, you see that since the world wars started, and we're always in terms of trying to destroy something rather than trying to harmonize. In fact, it occurred to me just a few months ago to think that any problem that is described or recognized by humanity, the first and last and middle resort to try to solve that problem is to shoot something or blow it up. It never occurs to anybody to harmonize or to find common denominators, or to blend, or any of those things that mitigate the tension of the dichotomies and the differences. We just want to blow things up and shoot it. And that's what we're doing with every problem that comes up in front of people. I don't care if it's a war on drugs or it's a war on this, it's a war on this. And war never solves anything. It just disrupts the harmonies of the universe because we have forgotten how to be harmonious. Now, if you look at the perceptions that the human being tends to rely upon, the Western world is pretty much a seeing as believing culture. In other words, we rely on the visual sense as the appraiser of our reality. And the visual sense is designed to be divisive. It's designed to see differences. It's designed to see detail. It is not designed to see harmony. Okay? So what we found out through psychophysiology is that the left brain, which processes information quite differently than the right brain. The left brain tends to be a serial processor, which means one thing at a time. So it can't walk and chew gum at the same time. It can't harmonize. It can't see how things are related. It sees how things are different. And when it sees a difference, it wants to kill the other. So eventually that goes to, I mean, the left hand will kill the right hand pretty soon, you know. I mean, they're doing, every time you look at somebody focusing on a dichotomy, they're trying to, one side's trying to destroy the other, but the yin and yang are both necessary for there to be manifestation of harmony. So we've lost that sense, and it's almost like we're dying of left brain disease on the planet. But the point is that we can't find harmony with the consciousness that doesn't understand what harmony is. Now, music is harmony. And you can hit, one of my colleagues who played with Stanley Turrentine, we did a tribute to him, to Stanley last fall. And he said, when he was a guitar player, he said, when I was with Stanley, he said, Stanley played a note that made my liver quiver.
Mhm.
He said, that note, he said, that note went all through me and changed me. He said, I didn't know what was going on. And you see that the sound can coalesce and reach and blend and harmonize and balance and all that. All of those terms are not being used in the narratives of today. The narratives of today are all about separation, divide, conquer, stomp out, win, lose, all of those things, which all come out of that other consciousness. And you find that people don't even hear music like they used to hear music. If you're old enough and you were ever in the clubs of the 40s and 50s and 60s, when the people would go out to hear jazz, you'd be in the first row of the club and you'd be sitting there with your eyes closed, listening to the sounds, not even looking at the musicians, but you're there to soak up the sounds. Now, Archie Shepp said it the first time I heard it. He said people go out to see music now. They don't go out to hear music. They can't even hear it. They're going out to hear it, see it. And they see smoke bombs and light flashes and all kinds of other stuff. They can't hear the sounds. And so the sounds have become so skinny and so fractured that they don't even realize that they're destroying the power of the music because there's no harmonies there. There's no ability to hit those chakras that respond to the harmony. And music gets more and more superficial. And then when they went from analog to digital, and they went to digital and they took out the warmth of the analog sounds from the recordings, and now this Bluetooth is so empty. It's just a machine can make that sound.
Right.
And machine sounds are not the same thing as human sounds. So we need to recognize that we're eliminating the power of sound to heal rather than utilizing the power to its fuller extent. And we could get back to that. And those of us who have stayed there or who are trying to do this, you can demonstrate it, but if you can get people's attention to it, because everybody's running off chasing light flashes and silliness. But on the other hand, the harmonies that can literally change, they just elevate your whole consciousness, because the harmonies have the overtones and the undertones and all those other things that we don't pay overt attention to. But those are the things that are actually making, how can I put it, making the life and the consciousness in our experience and healing whatever could be disharmony.
So everybody sit back and listen.
Shattered, but I'm not broken. Wounded, yet time will heal. Heavy the load across I bear. Lonely the road I trod, I dare, shaken, yet here we stand. Weary, we must make our way through. Long are the days, the tears I've cried. Dark are the nights, no sun in the sky. Yet still I'll rise, never to give up, never to give in against all odds. Yet still I'll rise, high above the clouds. At times we feel low, yet still we must rise. At times I'm troubled, but not in despair. Weary, still we must press on. Trials, they've come to make us strong. We must endure, we must hold on. Yet still I'll rise, never to give up, never to give in against all odds. Yet still I'll rise, high above the clouds. At times we feel low, yet we must rise above all our problems, above all our eyes can see, knowing God is able to strengthen me, to strengthen me. to give in against all odds. Yes, we must rise high above the clouds. At times we feel a little low, yet still we must rise and love one another. Love one another, peace and love one another. And we shall rise. We shall rise. We shall rise.
That was beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that, Joan.
Well, ever since I saw that, and I knew I met Mzuri long, I don't know what year you did that, but I met you long before I saw that. And I too sang at the 50th anniversary of the United Nations in Geneva. So I know where you were, I know who you were with, and I know the impact that you made upon me when I heard that. I know Djehuty has been captured by your voice to the point that his program of, can you tell us, and wait, before we do that, Mzuri, I want you to talk about your musical journey with healing, because your voice, I watched you do this with children that I brought you in with. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you sang At Last.
That I don't remember, but I know you brought me to sing for some
Yeah,
kids. Where was that?
This was in Miami, and the little girl sang. It was a senior center. The little girl sang At Last. And then I said, now, I don't want you to be nervous or anything, because this lady has been singing for years. And you came and sang At Last and turned it upside down, you know. So talk to us about how your voice heals, because I know you know.
Well, I'll say this. As a child, my mother said that I used to sing when I was about 6 months old in the high chair.
Right.
I'd be singing along with my godmother, who sang, who was on television singing on Sundays, and I'd be singing. So they named me as a result of that, Little Mahalia. That's who I wanted to be when I grew up, sing like her. And I took some, detours in life. I went to nursing school, became a nurse, and, did not live. I wasn't living what I really wanted to do, which was be a singer and acting as well. But I started taking opera. I started studying operatic techniques with Mrs. Wolf and Josh and different people. I had different teachers. But I noticed that there was this feeling that came over my body like I was plugged into an electric socket when I sing. I feel energy emitting from my body. Why, how, I don't know. But every time I sing, I feel this. And I believe some people feel it as well, because I've had people tell me, your voice is healing, you're anointed. And also Philip Michael Thomas, who was, sang with me 2000. Oh, it was the millennium. We sang at the Manhattan Center in New York together, a song that he wrote.
Mhm.
And I had that feeling back then as well. And that's been like 25 years ago. So
Mhm.
I've had that feeling in my body when I sing. It feels like I'm emitting some kind of electricity is coming from me when I sing.
Okay.
So
For sure.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
It definitely does because I'm a singer and I know what you're talking about, how it's electricity. It's like you're channeling the universe when you sing,
That's
and
exactly right.
it's like you're lifted up into this realm. And I think that's why so many people think that divas are think more of themselves, but it's because at some point we're actually, whatever that word is, levitated out of our
Right.
bodies into
Yeah,
this zone, and I'm sure
that's true.
Nelson can tell us about how he feels when he plays the trumpet, and Caliph played the baritone and the trombone. So uh, but this is what I want to ask of Djehuty. How did healing through the sound of music come into being?
Okay, so Healing Through the Sound of Music is actually conceived by Mzuri.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, the inspiration of that um, came from her beginnings as a healer, as a registered nurse, and how, as a practitioner in nursing, uh, healing profession, she, along with that, um, as you know, and as you just expressed, also had a passion for singing and would on occasion find herself singing while she was doing her nursing practice.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, the healing tone of her voice was noticed. And it is through um, uh, the merging of her gift of singing, that talent, and the skill set to align with her heart of serving in the helping profession, healing profession, that merge those two worlds together
Mm-hmm.
of healing through the sound of music.
What is the
Right.
mission of what is your program? What do you do? What do you
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah. Well, healing through the sound of music is defined as an institutional legacy, social impact music and theater performing arts company.
Mm-hmm.
And its focus is to commemorate the oftentimes forgotten, exploited, and even denigrated Black women who have made significant social and political contributions to this nation and abroad.
Uh-huh.
The flagship production of the mission and vision of healing through the sound of music is the Fannie Lou Hamer story, who popularized the saying, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired."
Mm-hmm.
And it is through the indomitable spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer that Mzuri brought her story back to life on stage. And after 23 years of doing so on college campuses, universities nationwide, as well as conventions and annual conferences for social and political organizations, to raise awareness about Fannie Lou Hamer's contribution for being a voice of the voiceless, for fair representation, for a better quality of life, for the disenfranchised primarily, but of course, then again, for those who, which, of course, in the story of the African Black American, journey in America, who just really obtained fair representation at with the 15th Amendment.
Because the question has been, what is the vehicle by which we get people to recognize the necessity of raising their consciousness? And you have a solution, and Caliph has a solution, and Mzuri has a solution, and Nelson teaches his students the solution, and I talk about the solution. So, okay. So now what I want to do is show you the next slide in the PowerPoint, which is hot topics. So the hot topics are the impact on humankind from altering 432 to 440, how music impacts the psyche, how music impacts pregnant women and babies, how music affects mental patients, and how music affects special needs students. These are different categories of people that are mal-affected by the frequencies that they are hearing on the radio, in television, in movies, and in social media. Okay? Now, most of this I've learned through the internet, but from my conversations with Nelson and Caliph and Djehuty. Okay. I've gone and researched stuff that I've heard the three of these gentlemen say, and then Caliph said to me the other day, well, we have sight, earth, air, water, and fire. And I contended that sound was a fifth element. So, Caliph, could you just talk about what you said to me the other day about those four elements, and that perhaps sound could be that fifth element?
I think sound permeates all of the elements, and I don't know how to integrate that into an articulable kind of presentation, but you have ether, fire, air, water, earth, which we know are represented in the five Platonic solids that you mentioned earlier. But I think sound permeates and interpenetrates each one of those elements and is an integral part. I don't know if you can pull sound away from it, make it a separate entity outside of that. I think that would be more down Nelson Street to talk about that, but because he did a thing when we were in conversation about from the highest degree to the 0 point, and that's above my pay grade. But I think the ether, fire, air, water, earth principles are what we observe. These particular what energy the shape that energy takes that we have been able to observe. Now, there may be some other uh, shapes, but I don't know about them. But even where there is no matter, in what we call empty space, energy still takes these shapes, and it is evidenced in the flower of life, the tree of life, and the seed of life in sacred geometry. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
That's
Well,
good.
you said something very profound in there, and that is how sound permeates all of those states. Because if you look at it, sound affects fire, sound affects water, sound affects matter, right? Sound affects all of those things and modifies and modulates them so that it's not separate, but it is interactive and permeable to, to every other expression. And if you go philosophically back to, if you want to use the biblical thing that God spoke things into existence, let there be light. That's a sound that brought something into existence. If you want to go back to humanity and the early languages, like the Sanskrit language, where they were called projective languages. And the projective language was able to speak forms into existence. And we've lost that ability to a great degree, but that ability still does exist. And when they discovered the science of cymatics, cymatics, you can actually demonstrate it, where sound will create matter, or sound will organize matter, or disorganize matter. Okay? So you can see how language can actually create forms and create organization. Back in the old days, they used to talk in physics about entropy, which meant that you could scramble an egg, but you can't unscramble an egg. But they never talked about what made the egg have its integrity in the first place. And they didn't even look at that. They were looking at the disorganization. But they found out that cymatics is the organization, which comes from sound. And we can do it consciously as we might once we understand the power of it. So knowing that the voice can actually speak forms into existence, and it can actually impact the consciousness of everything from plants to animals to earth and rocks and water and everything. Sound affects all of that. And so the fact that we can actually make our own sounds gives us a power that we have not really taken great advantage of.
Well, we do. We speak our worlds into existence. I
Right.
constantly try to drill into people's ideology that they are co-creators with the universe. So when you say I am sick, you are sick. When you say
Right.
I am well, you are well. But we
Mhm.
underestimate the power of our word. We'll dwell on the word of other people. That's why we always need to have
Right.
affirmation from other people. But what are you speaking into your own existence? And
That's
that
absolutely true.
is definitely, a hot topic that needs to be added to this list of things to talk about. And that is
That's a very good
speaking.
point. So I have my students, all of my students for the last 10 years or so. I have them write a list of things. It's 20 sentences. I just stop at 20. I said to start with I am. I am blank, and write down 20 things that I am. I said, and now look at your list, because that's your mirror and that's who you are. And if there's anything on that list I am that you don't like, change it. And then it will change you. But you have to understand that the self-talk it's the first talk, as you just said, Joan. Yeah.
So back
If I may,
to Jew. Oh, go ahead, please, Caliph.
uh, just quickly, Nelson brought up the Sanskrit, and what I wanted to add to that is the Medu Neta, which is the divine language that had a harmonic in it that resonated with nature. And that's why they call it the Medu Neta. And Nelson may want to take over from there, but as we progressed, as we have discovered in the Rosetta Stone that's in the British Museum, that as these languages moved forward and we call evolve, they're really devolving, or it's a degeneration until we get to English, which is the most equivocal language the world has ever seen. It's a dichotomous language. It is, you can express the meaning of certain things in the language, but it has no resonance in nature. So the language we speak is very, very important in terms of how we create. And that's how they were able to bring civilization to the world because of the language that they spoke. And that's how they were able to build the megaliths that they built that baffle us to this day, because the language that they spoke had a frequency and a harmonic that resonated with nature. Our language now is dissonant. It disconnects us, as Nelson said it a little earlier, because it's a volatile language. It's a vociferous language. It's vicious. It's a spell casting language. So we have to be careful using the English language, a bastardized language, in terms when we talk about creating. But like I said, Djehuty may be able to take that further than what I just said. Thank you.
But
So
now you're going to explain to us what star consciousness is. And then I'm going to ask Caliph to come in and talk about his star philosophy. And then Mzuri, you jump in anytime you're ready. You here. And it's your voice that makes this stuff come together like glue. Because I must ask Nelson your review of her performance.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I mean, I could bask in it.
Exactly.
You just
And,
bask in those tones.
and Caliph,
And that's, yes,
Caliph,
absolutely.
Caliph, you're muted.
Yes.
What was your reaction to Mzuri's performance?
It was nostalgic. My voice instructor, Miss Mary Hill Cole, taught me how to hit the airlines and use my skeletal system as a PA system, my sternum as a microphone, my skull as an amplifier. She taught me voice, and as I saw her cascading with antiphonal melody through the airlines and I mean, it was rapturous. I mean, I could go on and on. Don't start me, because I'll take over the whole thing talking about what I was experiencing and feeling as she exercised those disciplines, just like free, like we were talking about the two ladies we saw dancing. One was fluid and one was jerky, and it looked imitation. That was no artificial intelligence in that. That was all organic. Man, it was just wonderful. It was divine.
Divine.
Yeah,
And
it was.
Nelson basked in it. And
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been changed by it, So, and I know I don't have to ask Djehuty, but go ahead, Djehuty. How did you feel?
Well, it's always an experience that you feel. And so if you can feel it remotely, not being there, and that was filmed in 2011.
Mm.
No, that's the 10th year commemoration of 9/11.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so 2011 is when it was filmed, 10 years, the 10th year commemoration of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And so But yes, when I share that clip, this is the reaction that we always get. And I often say, imagine if you were in the UN Forum live with the symphony and that voice versus hearing the audio recording of it. How much even more impactful it would be, because you would be up close and personal with the vibration and frequency of the sound, which is a good segue as to what I like to share right now. And my feeling is that it is emotionally stirring, with goosebumps.
Right.
And those goosebumps typically is the physiological confirmation of the anointing of the sound, or the presence, or the divine presence.
Which was healing the people in that room that were remembering the horrific experience of 9/11. So if we keep coming back to the same theme, healing humanity with music. Beautiful. I'm loving this. So
That's
go
right.
ahead. Now we're going to listen to the secrets of vibration and frequency, the power of sound.
In this segment, I'm going to be speaking with you on the secrets of frequency and vibration. The one thing we all have in common is music. Music is the universal language bridging all cultures. But why? There is a special connection we as humans have with sounds put in rhythmic patterns. We connect with it instantly. Turn on any fast-paced song around a 2-year-old, and they can't help but to dance to the beat. We instinctively understand the vibrational connection of all things through sound. But few people actually know the power that frequencies of sound possess. It can be used as a weapon, or it can be used as a component for healing. In ancient times, geometric patterns and structures were created using certain frequencies of sound. This is known as cymatics. Cymatics is the study of wave phenomena and vibration through sound. It's a method that demonstrates the vibratory nature of reality through frequency and vibration. Studies have shown that frequencies can be used in negative or positive ways. It has been proven that some frequencies can help tune the brain for better focusing while learning. And some low frequencies have been known to cause major discomfort and have an unhealthy effect on the human body. In the 1930s, Dr. Royal Raymond Rife successfully cured 16 out of 16 terminally ill cancer patients in less than 70 days by using his hand-built frequency device. His work was later suppressed for obvious reasons. There are two special frequencies that have a tremendous effect on the human mind and body. Those frequencies are 432 hertz and 528 hertz. 528 hertz is known as the miracle tone and often associated with DNA repair. It resonates with the human body and nature and is one of the original solfeggio scales. In 2010, John Hutchinson, an electromagnetic energy expert from Vancouver, Canada, successfully purified oil-infested waters using 528 hertz and other solfeggio frequencies. The 432 hertz frequency is known as Virtus A and is a sound that is mathematically tuned and the most consistent to nature. Music based in Virtus A has a beneficial healing effect on the human body because it's a tone mathematically fundamental to nature's ability to repair itself. Both 432 hertz and 528 hertz are notes of the same celestial music and are proven to create healing vibrations for the mind, body, and spirit. All the great composers from Bach, Chopin, Mozart, all used 432 hertz as the frequencies to create their masterpieces. The original standard for symphonies and classical compositions was in 432 hertz, but that has since been changed to 440 hertz, a frequency that is not in resonance with the human body. 440 hertz is a unnatural tone that is not found anywhere in nature. When certain authorities found out about the effects certain frequencies have on the body and mind, they began to use it for their own benefit, but to the detriment of others. They would notice how music affected the atmosphere and attitudes of those listening. Here's a history lesson. In Nazi Germany, the propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, changed the original scale from 432 hertz to 440 hertz. They found that 440 hertz stifles creativity and dulls the emotions, keeping the masses under a certain amount of control. Thus, 440 hertz was adopted by the Rockefeller Foundation and set as the official scale for music. A lot of this information has been hidden and suppressed from the public for obvious reasons. If people understood the dynamics of frequency and sound, they will be able to unlock different doorways within them, releasing fear and negative blockages. One of the things that has been kept from us is the power of our emotions. Our emotions have a physical impact on the world around us. We literally attract things in our life based on our feelings and strength of emotions. If certain frequencies can stifle emotions, there also must be frequencies that can boost emotions. The two most famous frequencies are, of course, 432 hertz and 528 hertz. You can also choose from the 7 solfeggio scales. These scales have a tremendous effect on the body. Each frequency has a function and characteristic. Let's start with the first one. 396 hertz. This tone helps turn grief into joy, liberating guilt and fear. 417 hertz. This tone cleanses traumatic experiences and facilitates change. 528 hertz. As we mentioned before, this frequency is known as the natural frequency of the earth. It repairs DNA and brings transformation and miracles into your life. 639 hertz. This frequency enhances communication, understanding, tolerance, and love. In other words, it strengthens relationships. 741 hertz. This frequency leads you into the power of self-expression, which results in a pure and stable life. It also helps clean the cells of toxins. 852 hertz. This frequency helps awaken intuition and returns your vibration to spiritual order. 963 hertz. This tone helps restore the spirit to its original settings. It is directly connected to light or God. Use these frequencies often to restore the mind, body, and spirit. Every night, my wife and I sleep with at least one of these frequencies playing in the background. We always wake up refreshed and renewed. Dr. Masaru Emoto used some of these frequencies in his famous water experiment. Dr. Emoto would expose water to certain music or frequencies and then freeze the water. Once the water was successfully frozen, he would take a high-powered camera and photograph the crystal structures formed. What he found absolutely blew him away. He noticed that the water that was exposed to Mozart and Beethoven, aka 432 hertz, had beautiful geometric patterns formed within the water crystal. When the water had been exposed to rock music and other forms of 440 hertz, the crystals in the water almost looked to be polluted, even though the water came from the same source. So the question is, why should you care about the results of these experiments? It's because your body is over 70% water. If the frequencies are transforming the water in these experiments, what are the frequencies doing to the water inside of your body? I have created some meditative instrumental videos and affirmations that have been tuned to the frequencies of 432 hertz and 528 hertz. I also have a video that includes all 7 solfeggio frequencies. You can find a link to each audio in the description. When you hear these tones, something will stir up within you. You will immediately connect and resonate with these frequencies because they are the natural sound of you. One thing we all have to be aware of is that we are all vibrational beings, attuned to a certain frequency. If our body is attuned to its natural frequency, it has no choice but to repair itself. But if the body remains at a vibrational dissonance, it will continue to poison the body, creating dis-ease. It is my intention to serve the people, and giving knowledge is the best way I know how. This is Justin from You Are Creators, and we support your dreams.
That was beautiful. And Djehuty, you should know that the first time I heard about that Asian doctor was from Nelson. Nelson has been my mentor for I don't know how long now, Nelson.
Going back 25 years.
We just met last September face to face in Pittsburgh. And it was like, we had to be like brothers and sisters in
Had to be. Sure.
life or something, you know, because then Caliph came in and we're all Sagittarians, but we're not Sagittarians. We're Ophiuchus. We're the 13th sign. And so that has a lot to do with it. So I want to go to, I'm trying to keep this organized according to, you know, what we were talking about. That video was beautiful. So it shows how different hertz can be dangerous. Okay. Then Caliph, I would like for you to talk about what's going on with the sun while Uranus is conjuncting it.
Well, there's a lot going on with the sun. It's not only just a conjunction of Uranus, of course. Uranus, when we were talking a little earlier about the three cycles of time, 24-hour cycle, out of Genesis 1 and 14, and day and night, 24 hours, signs and seasons, 365-day cycle, and then days and years, which is a great year consisting of 26,000, some say 25,920, comprised of 2,160 years times 12, which is 25,920. But the conjunction now, Uranus rules in the age that we're in now,
Mm,
which is the age of Aquarius. Its gravitational field, vibration, music, whatever you want to call it, is influencing and rules our solar system, not only just our world. It happens to spin backwards uh, to the other planets, with the exception of Venus. Venus and Uranus spin counterclockwise, and the rest of the planets are spinning clockwise, which will make it very disruptive, and it will challenge our set organizational structures, overturn some tables, some institutions. It's going to do a lot of different things in our culture. Certain institutions, certain standards. Well, just about everything is. If it's not built up on a harmonic frequency, it will not be sustainable anymore. So we will see the crumbling of governments, economics, military. We're going to see all kinds of things in this age. It's an exciting time to be alive while this is happening. I wanted to talk a little bit about Leonard Horowitz because Djehuty was quoting some of the stuff out of a book. Well, some of the things that were in the book. I don't know if he has that book or not. About the 528, Leonard Horowitz talked about the 440 frequency, and I wanted to pose this question to Nelson. But Leonard Horowitz talked about the 528 frequency, 432, and of course the British Standard Institute, when they were influenced by the Rockefeller Foundation to change the standard tuning to 440, which is a military acoustic frequency that suppresses the right brain in the right hemisphere, and also suppresses the heart chakra. So our right brain, our creative side, looking at the whole, as well as our compassion with our heart, while stimulating the survival chakra, the root chakra, which puts us in a survival mode instinctively, or fight and flight or freeze. And I wanted to ask Nelson, is he familiar? I'm sure he is familiar with the acoustic tuning in the great in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid at 441.
yes.
441, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about 441 if he could. But as far as Uranus is concerned, we're going to be here for 2,160 years. We've been under the influences of Saturn, which are linear lines of energies that have been coming in now. The swirling energies of Uranus is going to upset, and overturn many of the institutions that we've held near and dear. So that's my spiel on that. Maybe I didn't get as thorough as some other things, but they're escaping my mind. I'm getting old. You all forgive me. But I'd like for Nelson to tell me a little bit his knowledge about the 441 frequency in the King's Chamber.
I'm not that familiar with the 441 in the King's Chamber. I have sounds from the King's Chamber that I use, but I wasn't aware that they were 441. But I'll have to do some research on that. But
Okay.
still, there's some more discoveries. We're at a very exciting time to be alive because we're discovering now the meaning and that we didn't have a clue about what was going on this planet. The other pyramid, not the Giza pyramid, but the Khafre pyramid, it goes down 6 stories as an energy device and all that. They just discovered that. There's, it's just so much going on. that goes beyond what we thought our science was capable of, then I'm just excited to discover new things all the time. But when we see how they fit together, now these frequencies that we're talking about just now are available online. You can go and I listen to them every day. You can listen to 528. You can listen to all the solfeggio frequencies through your earphones anytime you want to, which is a good practice to start doing because it blocks out some of the noise that we're swimming in. But these things are being identified every day more and more, and their application thereof. But there's just so much more to discover. And then we're still focusing on the human experience. And I just sent you some videos, Joan, that you can share as you will, about how nature is part of this whole symphony of sound. I mean, plants dance to the sounds too. I mean, you can play certain music, they'll make a plant lean toward you or lean away from you or dance or grow or shrink or whatever. You can, there's a video of animals and how the animals respond to the sound. You play some music and all of a sudden you got elephants dancing and tigers right within a foot of you on a wire fence, just lying down, just loving the sounds, not trying to eat you up. But, and you found dolphins and you played the music to the water animals, and they respond to it because it's all. I mean, nature is singing all the time.
One other thing that I would like for Caliph to mention is the piece about the dogs are not barking, but the events. Can you just delineate those events for us?
Well, that's kind of funny because, that's a biblical text out of Isaiah chapter 56, verses 10 through 11, where it talks about the watchmen are all blind. They're all dumb dogs, and they are dumb, and they cannot bark. They love to sleep. They are lying down. They love to slumber, and their shepherds cannot understand. And so the events that are occurring in our world now are signaled or announced ubiquitously, I might say, throughout the scripture. I mean, it's just over and over and over. The scriptures are replete with where we are. It's almost like a playbook or a forecast. If you look at it with certain lenses, and you can kind of see how things are playing themselves out. And to give an example, case in point, when uh, Pope Francis passed away, there was darkness in Portugal and in Spain and southern France. Now, if you know your history, you know that it was Pope Nicholas who issued the Bull Dom Diversus in 1453, authorizing the King of Portugal, King Alfonso V, to go into Africa and enslave the African people, and then later King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain in the Romantis Pontifex, which was issued some years later to place the people under the doctrine of discovery and gave them the right to conquistadors to go out and to conquer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
To conquer the lands and place people in perpetual slavery. Well, when the Pope died, it got dark in Portugal and Spain. And so connecting this synergistic points together, you can see a correlation in the history of them enslaving us. And now something from heaven is signaling to us that they went to a blackout. There was a blackout in Puerto Rico where the sun emitted a CME, coronal mass ejection, that knocked out the grid in Puerto Rico. Then the UK started talking about blocking the sun. That's in the Bible. They're talking about underground bunkers now like never before. That's in the Bible in Revelation chapter 6. They're talking about the UV rays of the sun being more intense now than they've ever been before. That's in the Bible in Revelation chapter 16 and verse 8. Also in Isaiah chapter 30, verse 26, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be seven folds, as in 7 days. The sun will be hot 7 times in one day, as it were. And that's when healing takes place. So the sun is changing its vibratory harmonic frequency as these waves of music, if you want to call it music, is coming into the earth. So something is happening that will bring changes to all organisms on this planet, living organisms, and bring a change to this planet as well. So there are many, many more events. The largest plantation house in North America here in Louisiana burned to the ground, while the a 100-year oak tree fell on the Confederate Museum in North or South Carolina. I forget which one. So all of these events are happening, but basically the dogs won't bark is a concept where the preachers or the watchmen or those are gatekeepers are supposed to announce to people and let them know where we are. They're being silent in their efforts to raise more money and get seed offerings and get donations and get money while all of these things are happening, and the people are not being warned. That's what the dogs won't bark. That's the concept of it.
So that is our opportunity. I always see negativity as opportunity. And the fact that 2 years ago, I sat in Mzuri's living room with a Ankh rug
Oh,
and said,
nice.
I must connect Djehuty to Caliph. And the minute that we talked about coming together, Nelson was there, because Nelson and I have been having these conversations for 25 years. And so we're here. And the next thing on the PowerPoint. So I am a musician. We are the people that stay up half the night to finish that song we can't get out of our heads. And it's in our heads because it has to get out to the public. We're typically misunderstood, always underpaid. We spend more time packing, driving, and unpacking vans full of gear and luggage than we do on stage playing. But we bring entertainment, healing, love, and passion to a world that desperately needs it. And I wouldn't change a thing. I am a musician.
It's beautiful. That's true.
And so the rest of this is what we would be discussing as time goes by, how music impacts the psyche. And of course, you teach psychology, so Nelson, how music impacts pregnant women and babies. I've been talking about how woman is the first musical instrument. Okay, what the baby hears and what the mother fears. Music and babies, because this is how babies learn. Babies learn through sound and music. Babies learn from songs, bonding, transitions, language, new words, rhythm and rhyme. Okay, babies learn to play, to have family fun, singing names, listening skills, love. They learn all of that through music with the mother and fathers that sing. Okay, I sang to my children, and my children grew up with me as a singer. Okay, so that is my realm of understanding. And then this, just a minute, the song that you hear in the video is a song that I wrote for children. I taught over 10,000 children the history or her story of amazing music women. They were so hyped at the end of my presentation. The teachers just said, well, that we can't do anything with them after you leave. So I wrote Love Translation, which is let's see if it'll play.
You played it at the beginning, didn't you?
You do hear it. Yeah, but I turned it down. I turned the music down. So anyway,
Oh, it was beautiful.
then how music affects mental patients. That's back to you, Nelson. And special needs students. Well, Caliph, you have to know that this man built he brought 40 community organizations together in the Bay Area to work with students, to work with families for family counseling, community development. And he was given by George Bush $3 million by
5 million, and it was 400
there.
community-based organizations
Oh,
under the Oakland Convention Center. It was not 40, it was 400.
There you go. So that right there is where I would like for you to come in, because this is a preliminary meeting. We have 29 minutes left. Then, of course, all of us can pitch in and talk about the messages that children and young people are getting in the music. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is the difference between men's music and women's music. Because men's music is more aggressive. That's the military music. A lot of the rock is violent. It's obsessive, possessive, and controlling, while women's music is passionate, nurturing, calming, communal, and uplifting, and a lot of times provocative. I didn't want to leave that out, that women's music can also be provocative. Okay, and that could be a positive or a negative, depending on who's saying what. Okay, next is that I would like for us to ponder the world religions in this context, that Christianity and European imperialism, white supremacy equals Black lives don't matter. The geopolitical headquarters of Christianity is Rome. That of Islam is the United Arab Emirates, and the headquarters of Judaism is in New York. And so I just want to leave that there for a moment. Then I don't know where this question came from. It could have been Caliph. Was it you, Caliph?
Yeah, that was me. I asked you what music did we play before we made contact with the underdeveloped consciousness of a European culture. Yeah.
Okay. So Psalm 137, and it's poignant because it's going to tie us back to what is it that we have to heal. And so if I may read this, by the rivers of Babylon, this is Psalm 137, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there, they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song, in a strange land? How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forgot thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little ones against the stones. This, my friends, is our time. This is the time for us to bark. We are the watchmen. We are the trumpet. So between now and Sunday, July 20th, my desire is that we revisit this in June, and you bring everything that you have back to this forum. And then by July, we should be able to launch this podcast. What say you, Mzuri? So it may be August. It took us 2 years to get here, Mzuri. So I'm glad that you brought that to my attention, and we can move the date out, which will give us more time to organize and to communicate with each other in this manner for another month, or two. What say you, Nelson?
Well, I'm free for the summer because my course is finished on May the 15th. So I don't have any classes till September. So I'm wide open.
Okay, so we might be looking at August, and it'll be probably on a Sunday. I know I grade on Sundays, so I don't know if you have that issue. What do you think, Djehuty?
Okay, so my calendar is open to engage whenever everyone else would like to do so. And I would like to also offer an explanation as to star consciousness is,
Yes.
how it correlates to this. I also have that I can post in the chat room the link for a dramatic demonstration. Show a little bit of that if you like, but I can also post it so everyone can see it. So, star consciousness.
I am the only person that left a review on Djehuty's website. I would request that you scan the site once it's up and leave a review of what you think about his site. His site is revolutionary.
Good idea.
And it is something that I think would be very attractive to young people.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at it from an elder point of view, but elders are not the ones that we need to attract and to impact. And what Djehuty is proposing is in concert with Caliph's 13-step program. The fact that Nelson is a professor of psychology and I'm a professor of whatever, visual messages, graphic design, and Mzuri is a vocal, I don't know what you want to call it. What can we call it? Phenomenon. Lack of a better word.
That's a good one.
We bring all of this power. We are all articulate to a fault. I'm serious. Most of them are going to say, y'all sound like white people, but the point is that we have learned how to articulate our lessons. And so I'm burning with desire to work with the four of you to heal humanity with music. Can we see the you in your outfit? Is that possible?
I'm not sure if it'll pull up, but let's give it a try.
While you pulling it up, Djehuty, could you say that name again? I ran across him some years ago. Raymond Rouse that you mentioned with the frequency that they shut him down.
No, Royal Rife.
I'm sorry.
His name is Royal Raymond Rife, R-I-F-E.
That's right. Royal Raymond Rife. Thank you.
Okay. So Caliph, while Djehuty is pulling up, I really want to see the you know what I want to see, Djehuty.
Yes, I do.
A 5-year-old. I want to see the picture. No, Caliph, can you give us a brief overview of the 13-step process?
Well, it's tied to the procession and precession of the sun in its ecliptic, along with the precession of the equinox. And I think that's a natural matrimony there between Djehuty with his STARS project and my 13-step project. It's just basically plugging in and harmonizing our rhythms, circadian rhythms, with the cosmic rhythms of the universe and the cosmos. That's what it. There are certain rhythms that we are not aware of that are operating inside of the human body that I want to pull forth, that need to be harmonized and placed in sync with the rhythms of the cosmos, of the procession of the sun and the precession of the equinox.
So starconsciousness.com, the domain. The theme of the website is based on an ancient African Kemetic proverb, which states that the stars of the heavens are souls. I take it further by saying, born on earth on a remembrance adventure. That remembrance adventure is 3 parts: remembering our divinity, excellence, and self-mastery. And that is our journey. By design, we are to remember that we are consciousness projected as celestial light beings of immortal intelligence taken on form. The form is, of course, fleeting of relative matter, that which is temporal in this three-dimensional realm. So with that being said, now let's pull this up.
Stars of the heavens are in fact souls born on earth on a forgotten quest of remembrance. Stars of the heavens are in fact souls born on earth on a forgotten quest of remembrance.
To walk and live with royalty and leadership and with discipline and command.
Can you put that link in the chat? The link of the video. Caliph, the other day you said something about we are star dust. Remember?
Well, we are made up of star particles. With
Particle.
you can look up the various elements that are in the human body, the organism. That is, you can look it up. How much of the star particles make up our human organism? And we are made up of star particles as well as earth particles. So, such as iron, we know we can get a deficiency in it. Well, those iron comes from the stars, and those photonic particles are coming into our bodies along with the chemtrails that they're spraying on us daily, so to speak. But we are star particles, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so that was about 3 years ago. 60 Minutes did an expose with the team of the Webb Space Observatory, which was launched December 25th of 2021. And the director and his team brought forth the confirmation that what we know versus what was formerly a theory. And what was formerly a theory was how stars are formed. And according to the director, and this is also something that you would find on my site as soon as I get it back up, you'll be able to see that clip from 60 Minutes interviewing them. And the conclusion is that the director stated, we now know that there are 3 elements that we find on the periodic table today that are only formed in the birth of stars. 3 elements essential to human life that only come from the birth of stars.
Right.
And those 3 elements, first and foremost, is oxygen, derived from the birthing of stars. Second, they indicated, is iron. And of course, iron is the bonding agent essential for oxygen to travel or to transport oxygen throughout all your organ systems throughout your body. So iron bonds oxygen to enliven your cellular kingdom, I like to refer to it as. And the third is calcium. And calcium, of course, is essential to your bone structure. So those are the 3 elements that, according to the director and his team of the Webb Observatory, and saying that we now know from observation that these 3 elements only come from the birth of stars: oxygen, iron, and calcium.
Oxygen, iron, and calcium.
So we literally are star stuff, literally, without which there would be no life.
Okay. And Nelson, from the physicist's point of view, speak on this.
Well, I think it's a little more complex than that. I can understand that particular conclusion at a certain point in our awareness, but we've gone beyond that, I think, because we still think about separation. We still think about the stars as something separate. When now we know since 2012 that 96% of the universe is dark matter and dark energy, not the light, but the darkness. And so maybe the stars come from the dark energy and the dark matter that we are only now discovering. And maybe the black holes are giving birth to the stars.
Well, that is,
you see what I'm saying?
I agree with that point, and they also reference that in the expose as well.
Yes.
Yes,
so
that's addressed.
So
in
we're
fact,
we're making more progress along those lines, because there's always a tendency for us to draw conclusions based on our perceptions, and our perceptions have to do with the visual rather than the essence.
well, he did make an acknowledgement that
we tend
he did make an acknowledgement. The director did make an acknowledgement that what we do know is that 99.9% of what is called the dark matter is still unknown to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
unknown to us, of course.
Yes, and I refer to that in the Kemetic philosophy. The dark matter is symbolized as the goddess Nut, the eternal expansion of pure consciousness. Is the goddess Nut. From the Kemetic cosmology, the dark matter is female, and that which is, if you will, the blackboard, which suspends all the stars and planets, galaxies, universe, right?
Sure.
Which is male, our masculine energy. So from the Kemetic cosmology, Earth is actually masculine, as the god Geb, 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 Nut being female. So that's another perspective as well. But at any rate, I've formulated what I refer to as acrograms or acrogramology, where you're assigning a word, a new word, to each letter of an existing word. So, for instance, star, since that's the central theme we're discussing, an acrogram for star would be soul that alters reality. A soul that alters reality. Now, that's embedded in the Kemetic philosophy of that stars are souls, first and foremost. But not just souls, but souls that alter, ALTARS, which means to show respect or revere reality. Reality, that being the acknowledgement that everything that we behold is a divine presence, our consciousness projected outward.
Stop. Okay. We're at 2 hours. I want to stop. I want us to take all this. We're at a point that's like a springboard to the next discussion. So we're going to stop, and we're going to do this again. Look, see, Nelson is trying to say something.
I'm sorry.
Djehuty wants to say something. I know Caliph is out there chewing his tongue.
I'm just getting started here. I've been listening to everybody else, so I was wondering what I
I
was going
know
to talk.
this.
Being
That's why I
talking.
said I want you to stop.
So
Because I respect my elders, I'm going to let
okay,
Nelson say something, and then we are going to have another 2-hour discussion when you all give me the green light for the next one. Go ahead, Nelson.
Let me just throw this one. I saw it earlier today. There were two twins in the womb, and the twins were having a discussion with each other as to whether there was life after birth.
Oh, yes.
Think about
Caliph and I saw that.
Yeah, is there life after birth?
Is there life after birth? So Caliph and Mzuri, do you have anything to say that's burning? Otherwise, we're going to stop. Good. Okay.
Well done.
I'm going
Thank
to
you.
get this video in Dropbox. You will be able to go back and look at it. And I think that all of us will have something new to bring to this discussion the next time. So I love you because the universe conspired to bring you to me.
Well, likewise, you too.
Thank you, Joan.
It's been wonderful.
Okay.
And
Or bring
thank
me
you all.
to you. Djehuty, you're brilliant. Caliph, the brain power is, I am so
this was a thrilling afternoon.
proud to know the four of you and to have you in my life. I really believe since I was 5 years old, I have been looking for the four of you. And so I'm gonna go get me a drink.
Okay.
All right. I will
Thank
be
you.
in touch. Love you, love
Okay.
you, love
I'll
you.
say. I love you.
Peace.